Hi Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. We are here with a reading for you. I pulled two oracle cards. The first one says forge don't follow. And I pulled a second oracle card. It's called the Thorn. I'm going to read the description of this one. Part of the description anyway. It says, the rose is not all gentle and soft. In fact, most roses are armored with spiky thorns and prickles of various shapes and sizes. These sharp protectors act like knights defending their queen, clearly setting the necessary boundary and conditions for her to do what she was born to do. We too are like the rose. So often we don't get taught how important clear communication and loving boundaries are to our relationships. When we're not clear on our needs, when we don't communicate them, when we don't take responsibility for them, it's important for others to give us what we need. This often results in a breakdown in the relationship. Communicating our needs and establishing our boundaries allows not just us to feel safe, but those we're in a relationship with to feel safe too. This card delivers the message of the importance of clear communication, boundaries, and taking responsibility for our needs. To be clear with others, we must first be clear with ourselves and then communicate this to our loved ones and the world. And the soul inquiry says, what loving boundaries are you being called to establish? How are you being called to communicate clearly to those you're in a relationship with? Okay. So yeah, maybe you have to set a boundary in a way that you've never done before. You need to pay attention to your needs in a way that you've never done before. Show up for yourself in a way that you've never maybe seen before, you know? Like you're going to be the first one to be doing this. Just imagery wise, when I'm looking at these cards, it feels like with Forge Don't Follow, this is about following your like dharmic path, essentially, which is honoring your nature, honoring your authenticity, and following the path that is aligned with that. And the thorn feels like whatever it is that you need to do to ensure that that's what you are doing. So to not let things get in the way unnecessarily, and to recognize too if something is potentially impeding upon that path for you, and then doing whatever steps it is, whatever necessary steps to just ensure that you're on track here. And accountability is important too. So rather than being like, well, I'm not on track because of this person or that person or whatever, you know, it's just doing what you need to do because you're responsible for yourself. So ownership. First card out is Ace of Wands. Okay, I will say this. Ace of Wands came out like almost looking kind of reversed to me. When the Ace of Wands comes out reversed, this can be an opportunity that comes up but then it fizzles out very quickly. So it can like almost seem like it has a lot of potential or promise, but then what ends up happening is that the like flame goes out, the spark goes out, and it stops short of unfolding into anything. So just be mindful of that. Maybe you're being shown different options, and this is about making sure that you're paying attention to not be choosing something that may like look good initially, but then it's going to sort of fall apart. Like it can only grow to a certain point. Because if you want something that feels like you can invest more and it will grow more and it won't have that cap on it, you need to pay attention to what it is that you're putting your energy into. So I'm seeing this as being a recognition of that, because we have Seven of Cups, which can be like, I have different doors that are opening, which one do I want to go through? And you may have some stuff going on within the environment, and like technically they're doors that are opening, but it's going to be something that it feels like there's nothing really in that room if you were to go into it. So make sure that you're paying attention to what door you're going through, because there are some doors that can really lead you where you want to go. There are other doors that will be like half of a room that you step into, and then you're kind of stuck within there. And is that what you want to be choosing? And then we also have the Ace of Cups here. So I feel like maybe it's hard knowing what you want at this point. Where to go with this. I'm seeing the Tower on the bottom of the deck, so this can be coming about just in a way that breaks up what's normal for you. Seeing Six of Pentacles, I'm seeing Temperance. These cards are about getting the balance right when it comes to the stuff that you're involved in. Things being sustainable, you getting what you need, you giving what you need to give. Six of Pentacles is all about relationships and sustainability. When you're involved in things that are aligned with your values, you enter into the situation, whatever's on the other end enters into the situation, and everybody's getting what they need, everybody's happy, everybody feels like it's fair. This is about finding that balance. And recognizing too the difference between what's going to hold weight for you versus what's not going to hold weight for you. Part of the reason why Six of Pentacles can be complicated sometimes is that we can have people that are showing up, or we even can be showing up, but if there needs to be a particular thing that's being given, okay? If the scale is only going to be weighed down by oranges and you're showing up with apples, you're still showing up with something, but it's not going to hold any weight. And know that this can be the situation with another person too, and that's not going to be sustainable then, you know? Like if you need the nutrients from the orange and you're just eating the apples, you're still eating something, but you're not really getting what you need there. So something can still be being done, you know, action can be being taken. You're seeing things that are going on, but it may not hold weight for you, or it may not hold weight for the other person. Like there's just this mismatched energy here. Having Temperance there is about getting that balance right. It's about figuring that out so everybody can feel like they're getting what they need. And that is going to allow things to feel sustainable. And the thing about this too is it's everybody's getting what they need and not feeling like they are overextending themselves. So compatibility is definitely plays a part in this. So we are receiving the fuel that we need to continue on, and also giving what we need to give to allow the cycle to continue in a way that we feel allows us to remain in a balanced place, rather than being in something and being like, well, they're getting what they need, but I'm feeling out of balance and I have to be out of balance in order to give them what they need, or vice versa. It's about recognizing that. Because you're going to be feeling at your best when things are sustainable. I am seeing something about a partnership that's coming up. I do want to clarify this Ace of Wands and see, just because it almost looked like it was coming out reversed. So I'm wondering if there was, I feel like I wouldn't be stuck on that coming out reversed if there wasn't another meaning to this. I do feel like maybe something has been going on with you and another person where there was like a lot of potential and a lot of promise there, and you were like, things can really take off, and then that's not what ended up happening. You can feel like it capped out and like it's not going anywhere past that point, and it can leave you feeling, the word befuddled is coming through, can just leave you at this point where you're like, what's even going on here? And it can be a time where you need to give a little bit of love and attention, TLC, to yourself. Okay, some of you, I'm seeing somebody coming in with a message. I'm seeing the Devil on the bottom of the deck. I'm going to take that Ace of Wands reversed, because I've, like, all the context that I'm seeing here, that's feeling right to me. So Ace of Wands reversed connected with the Lovers. This is going to be a situation where you looked at it and, like, who's to know, right? You look at in Ace of Wands, you look at an Ace of Wands reverse, like, usually they look somewhat the same initially. It's just one of them ends up being able to grow. This one just happens to be capped at a certain spot, and it's not going to grow beyond that. That's just how the energy was used. It's how it works. It's like, if you want to get into the logistics of understanding this, you'd have to pay attention to it like you would two seemingly identical seeds where one grows and one doesn't, you know, like one gets to a certain point and then just dies off. And that's what's going on here. And you can be left in the remnants of this knowing that you're still entangled within something, and at the same time it's not really going anywhere. And then you can be like, what's happening? How do I feel about this? For some of you, you have somebody that's returning to you, or they're like attempting to connect with you. Some of you, you're already in this situation, but it feels like there is like some type of ongoing or upcoming conversation that's happening. I am seeing the Devil, so this can be a time where like you're actually witnessing what's going on. Having that Seven of Cups, there can be a resistance to recognizing what's happening, and so there can be a part of you that has a lot of mixed feelings about this, and instead of just naming it what it is, there can be this part of you that doesn't want to, like, you don't want to admit to what's going on. Because why? It can feel disappointing to do that. You're exploring in the recesses of your mind here and energetically what's going on. So yeah, there can be this part of you that in a way you do know what's happening here, and also in another way you can be like, well, what am I supposed to do with all of these leftover feelings that I have and all of the things that I thought were going to happen? And like, I was looking at this as if it was going to continue growing, and it hasn't, and so where do I put all of that? You know, it's just this process where you're processing all of this, where you are adjusting to the reality, you're adjusting to the outcome. And even though this is a reverse ace, I do feel like you're seeing an outcome here. So even though you can be like, well, it barely even got going, you're still seeing an outcome here. This is feeling like a 10 to me. So, and a 10 is going to be the ending, the completion of a cycle. So even though you can be looking at it and being like, where's the rest of it? This is the rest. Like, it's not, there's no more that's going to be happening. There's no more that's going to be coming. That's that. And so in the, like, everything that's boiled over, you can just be looking at that and trying to figure out what to do with it. It can feel a little bit clouded. I think clouded because what your assumption of where things were going to go versus what actually happened, you're in the middle of reconciling that, because it looks like two very different things here. But yeah, I do feel like there's no more energy. There's no more fuel. So there's no more development that's happening. We even have Seven of Pentacles coming out reversed. And it's just flipping out into a reversed position. Which Seven of Pentacles reverse is going to be like... losing your marbles a bit here. Like, you've been doing this, you've been like pushing things up the hill, now it all just rolls down. This can be a very confusing position to be in as well. We have Seven of Cups mirroring Seven of Pentacles, so this really can, like, with the overflow of everything, be like, what am I supposed to do with this? It just feels like it's like you bought all of these paints and you bought a canvas, and then you get home and, like, if, let's say, the only thing you can paint with is a paintbrush, but you don't have it, and you're just, like, looking at everything, like, what am I supposed to do with all of this? Just feels like having, like, all of that supplies there and having all of those things there, but then you can't really do anything with it. And so what now? Where do you go from here? And I'm seeing the Ace of Cups be the next step for you to be taking. And this is coming into a place of connection with yourself. And for some of you, I'm wondering if, like, that's what was happening before. I don't know if, for some of you, there can be space. Like, something had happened with you and this person. I don't know if there's... Some of you, there can be space between. Some of you, there may not be any space between, but it feels like, okay, that didn't work. But then we have the Ace of Cups here, which is actually somewhat confusing to be seeing, because if Ace of Wands didn't work, why is the Ace of Cups going to work with this person? But maybe you also have an opportunity to, like, renew or try to reconnect. Maybe you feel like in some ways the Wands energy isn't working with you and this person, which is going to be like root, sacral, solar plexus is what I associate with the Wands energy. Maybe there's something going on within the fourth chakra where you can connect with this person with that Ace of Cups. This is also going to be connecting and joining with what it is that you love as well. But yeah, there can be just a lot of, I don't know how to feel about this thing that has sort of fallen apart. I put this energy in, but now everything is just, like, withering and disintegrating. That Seven of Pentacles really is this, like, half-built building that was abandoned, and now it's just falling apart, and you just don't really know what to do with it, and it's still kind of taking up space. And then having that Ace of Cups there can be like, should I try to go back in and rework this situation? I'm going to clarify the Ace of Cups and see. I'm seeing Temperance and I'm seeing the Devil, and I'm wondering if this is trying to figure out if you can do something with this situation. Like, maybe you don't want to give up on this. Maybe also, too, it definitely can't work the way that it was working before. Let's clarify this Ace of Cups. I'm seeing Knight of Cups, but I'm seeing Seven of Swords. I feel like this is a moment where you may try to rework a situation, but you're not meant to be doing that. It feels like very obvious what happened here. I feel kind of a bit of a twisted energy with this a little bit, where it's like something isn't working naturally, and you may attempt to, or it can be the other person too, may attempt to infuse it with something unnatural in order to, like, make this take off, but it's not, it doesn't seem viable. And even though it can, like, you can maybe try to do it for a little bit, it feels like it's just going to be a dud at the end of the day. I don't think that this is going to go anywhere. As far as what I'm seeing, you have an opportunity here, but, like, is it actually an opportunity? It feels just like, you know how in a display case, let's say in this display case, there aren't real products there, but they look real. It feels like taking something from the display case, like pretending that it's real, but then it's, like, not gonna do what that real product would be doing. It feels like one of those times where this can like look similarly to it, but it's not going to be the real deal to you, and so it's not going to like walk and talk like the real deal would. And so even though you can spend more energy trying to connect with this, I'm not seeing that things are going to connect. And it can be about recognizing that. And maybe this is a time too where you're going to say, I actually need to connect with myself now. But it can be difficult because maybe this person is coming through and they want to connect with you, and you recognize, I actually need to connect with myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be feeling all of these things right now. I'm not feeling totally clear because we have that Seven of Cups here. This can also be, instead of allowing things to settle and gaining some emotional clarity, wanting to just start something up to not have to deal with this. I don't want to have to look at that half-abandoned building over there. I'm just going to start trying to like paint it and throw this on it and throw that on it and see what happens. And it's like, this is some very faulty structure here. Because I really am seeing something that has disintegrated. It's like at one point in time, like things really were building, and then whatever it was that happened, something happened, and it feels like it cut the roots. And when those roots were cut, it was just a like slow decline after that point. Whereas much as you try to water, it feels like it's not sustainable to me from everything that I'm seeing here. I feel like the vital piece of what would have made this grow has been severed in some way. And it feels like trying to make something fit that doesn't really fit with one another. You can try to give this another go around, but it seems like it's going to be the same thing, and you can be ready to go into a different type of cycle, one that's sustainable. I get this, okay? If you were to like renegotiate and try to open this chapter, like start a new chapter here, I get this sense that it may work for a very small amount of time, and then you're going to see things fall apart again. It like basically what's going to be shown to you is that something here is not compatible, especially something is not sustainable. So you'll see that you have to keep putting like a maximum amount of effort for something to just barely be living here. And it feels like it's the connection. Maximum amount of energy for it to like barely even be working, for it to maybe be working sometimes very inconsistently. So it's just going to be that like puttering out. And you're going to get to the point where you feel tired. Like this actually I'm seeing it doesn't work. So this all is teaching you about, it's teaching you about your values. It's teaching you about reciprocity within your relationships, what is compatible and what's not compatible. As much as we may want to force the hand of these situations, like I want it to work so badly, at the same time, you're seeing something that does not mesh together. It's like it doesn't mix. It doesn't function together. There's a lack of harmony here. These pieces don't belong together. But at the same time, you're in the process of recognizing that. So you're going to get to that point eventually as you continue to work through this. For some of you, you're ready now to recognize this, and then you're going to keep moving on so you can have that experience where you get to experience reciprocity within the relationship. For those of you, some of you, you're not at this point yet because you still need to see that this doesn't work. So that's still what's going to be happening here. But for those of you that you're like, no, I get it. As much as I don't want to admit, I'm recognizing what's going on here, and I really want to give myself the chance to experience an Ace of Cups that actually fits together. That's what I want. So that will be a connection that actually goes together and is sustainable and is compatible currently. So yeah, some of you may not be there yet, and that's fine. there's not a time limit on how much time you spend. It's just like, you haven't figured this out yet, then you still keep going around. You get to the point where you figure it out, you pull yourself out of the cycle. That's that. But it's not like move on already. That's not how these cycles work. It's not about the time. It's about the understanding that you gain and how you raise your consciousness through these situations to understand the things that you didn't understand before, and then you just see the law of it all. Because it's not even an opinion. You just see that mathematically things fit and go together, or they do not. And you see what works with what. That's it. That's what you learn moving through this. So it's not even a thing having to do with like preference necessarily. It's just, does this mix with this right now or no? And those pieces never mix together. You need these pieces, and those are the ones that mix together. And that's what you learn moving through this process. And you're basically figuring out your divine composition and what is compatible with that versus what is not compatible with that. You try to force it. You end up in a situation like this, and you're just seeing what that looks like when there's that incompatibility there. That's it. That's what you're learning moving through this. And it teaches you better what does go together for you specifically. What you're not going to see is something work that doesn't work. You won't see that. You will see something that doesn't work, won't work. And then when you shift to another cycle, you can see something that works. And you'll see how easy that is. There won't be all the pressure. There won't be all the tension. Doesn't mean things are always perfect, but you'll see a flow and an ease that wasn't there in this situation. I'm seeing so much that you have gained, so much that you've learned, so much that you've understood moving through this. You don't need to rush yourself through this process. This is something that's going to be understood. For some of you, I feel like by the time something with Saturn is connected with this. So there can be something specifically with the Saturn in your chart. There can be something going on with transiting Saturn. I'm seeing be connected with this cycle for you. Saturn is stuff that we learn over more extended periods of time. And so I'd say that in the future, this is going to be a chapter that will be completing for you. You are the one that determines the pace of this for you, for yourself. This can be something where today you decide, okay, I'm recognizing it and I'm ready for the next chapter. For some of you, you're gonna pace it out differently than that. There's no do it now, you shouldn't do it like this, spend time doing that. It's not like that. You get to decide the pace of this, and that is totally 100% up to you. Up to what you're building, what you're understanding, and what you're ready for, what you're ready to admit to, what you're ready to know, what you're ready to understand. It's all there just waiting for you, and when you are ready for that, it's going to sink in. This is one of those times too where what's going to happen is that you go through this situation, it ends how it ends, and then eventually you're going to find yourself in a situation that is very much compatible, and you'll be like, oh, now I understand why all of those things didn't work, because it had to be this type of setup. And that doesn't mean it's going to be like one person and you can never be with anybody else. It just has to be these certain types of ingredients that you're using. You know, like if you need a pepper in the ingredients, you need a pepper in the ingredients. It doesn't mean you can only have like this pepper. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a whole line of peppers that you can use. You go to the store, it's not like you get one pepper and make the recipe and then you can never make the recipe again because you needed that exact pepper, but you need a pepper for it. You know, it's like only certain pieces go together. So it's not like you can only have that one peace, but you need that kind of peace. And so if you're not having that in this situation, it doesn't go together. And as much as we can want it, as much as we can be in a place where it's like, I don't understand, like, why isn't this working? You're gonna see it. And some of you can be at the point of seeing it now too. This can be recognizing. But if you're like very willfully moving through this from a place of your ego being like, no, I want it to work, I want it to work, I want it to work, this can be something where it's going to take a little bit more time to move through this, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not even a matter of right and wrong. It's not even on the table here with this. It's not applicable to this situation. You are going to understand this totally, completely, and fully. So just know that you're still in a place. If you're still in a place where you're like, this is still not making sense to me, it's going to make sense to you. Where things are going, what's been going on in this situation, what's going to be unfolding, it's all going to make sense to you. You're just in the process, I think, of really accepting this situation for what it is. I keep seeing roots that have been cut. I think too, for the part of you that you don't take your investments lightly and you really do give it your all, this can be something that's really hard to be like, am I just gonna give up here on this? But it's not that. There's like I feel like it takes wisdom to really look at this situation, recognize and understand it for what it is, and see that this is not, it's not a choice at the end of the day. It's like what goes together and what doesn't go together. It's not like if you want it badly enough, it's going to work. This doesn't work. So that is what you're going to find. It's a reverse Ace of Wands. It's not going to move past this point. That's just it. And that's how it's meant to be. Even though there can be this feeling of like, it should have lasted longer. It should have grown like this. It should have grown like that. That's not the nature of this situation. This was how it was meant to unfold. It can be different than what you thought it was going to be, what you expected it to be, what you wanted it to be. Nonetheless, this is what it is. So there's that reconciling with this. And it's teaching you so much about relationships as you're moving through this and understanding what sustainability looks like and doesn't look like in relationships and why things feel the way that they do, and making sense of all of that, putting the pieces together. When you're ready for an Ace of Cups that will develop into the Ten of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune is just waiting there to give it to you. You have to work through this situation. Once that situation is worked through, you can have the Ace of Cups that's going to lead to the Ten of Cups. And you're going to make that happen for yourself. That is, you're going to be on that track, and that's what's going to unfold. It's going to be a different situation than this one. I will say this again. Some of you may be seeing some of this, but you're like, but I'm still not ready to let go. I'm still not willing. You don't need to let go of anything before you want to. There's no need for you to move through this. You move through it at the pace that you want. Again, it's your life. It's your choices. It's you, what you're doing with everything. There's no wrong way to be doing this. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.